What's up, guys? How's it going? It's John. In this video, I wanted to review the new Sony PlayStation Classic. Came out December 3rd. Comes with 20 built-in games. Basically, a lot of negative reviews on this thing, so I want to share my thoughts on this thing. Is it good? Is it worth picking up? I'm going to do an unboxing, and then at the very end of the video, I'll share my final thoughts. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so here's a closer look at the box. I do like what Sony did here. They made it look like the original PlayStation box when the original PlayStation came out, right, for the PS1. You'll notice right away, I noticed this anyway, it is a pre-DualShock era, so it doesn't have any of the analog sticks, so you're going to be stuck with just the D-pad, so keep that in mind. And it says USB AC adapter not included. So again, this is common with other things. Nintendo does this. Other systems do this as well now. They don't have a wall adapter for the USB cable. I don't understand that. It is frustrating. I guess I assume most people have those if you have a smartphone, etc. But here's what it comes with. You get the console. You get some controllers, you have some cables, all right. Back is a list of the games, and I'll show you some menu screen here in a second, but overall, some of the games are great. You know, Wild Arms is fun, Tekken 3, Resident Evil, you know, Ridge Racer 4, it's a good game, Type 4, let's see, some other ones, Final Fantasy 7, of course, Grand Theft Auto, so they have done a pretty decent job selecting the games. Siphon Filter, one of my favorite games for the system. There's games on here that I would have loved to see that aren't included. I wish they included more than just 20. And some of those games include Parappa the Rapper, let's see, the Tomb Raider series. Any of those games would have been great to see. You know, there's just so many other games that were not included. Castlevania, Symphony of the Night would have been an amazing game to see. But again, a lot of that's dependent on licenses. Let's open this thing up and see what's inside. Okay, when you open it up, it's kind of weird. It's got these word flaps here. Not quite sure what that's about. It's a little odd, a little different, but it basically slides out. And you have a box. A box within a box. Great. It's awesome. Okay, and then, oh look, another box. What in the world? Okay, another box. And here's what the system looks like. Let's open this up. It's about 45% smaller than the original PlayStation. I'll show you a size comparison here in a second. But this opens, got plastic on it. Let me get the plastic off. It's really light. It obviously doesn't play any discs, so it does have USB controller ports here. Your power, your reset. Looks like this is your open. Well, that's more for looks. It doesn't really do anything. This thing doesn't really open up as it appears. Here on the back, you have your HDMI micro USB connector, okay, to the wall. See what else we got. This thing opens up. HDMI cable. That's nice. Nice. It does come with two controllers. Check out the length of these controllers, and they do feel like you know, your standard Sony original controllers. Obviously, pre-DualShock, as I mentioned before. Let's see how long these cable cords are, because that's been an issue with Nintendo classics. Those have been really short. And these are kind of short too. You know, if I were to guess, I'd say it's about a 4-foot cable, and definitely could have been longer. I wish it was longer. It's too bad, unfortunate. But both of those are about the same length. Here, connection cords, and you have your instruction manual. So now here I'm going to show the size comparison. So this is my original PlayStation 1. And this is the menu. You can see attention to detail is good, and you can see that it's much smaller, significantly smaller, and I'll tell you a lot lighter. This thing is very, very light. Okay, now let's check out some gameplay, and at the very end of the video I'll share my final thoughts. Thanks. When you turn on for the first time, you have to select a language, 10 different language options in the menu, and it shows you the controls, the menu, what the buttons do on the system itself. So the open button actually will change your discs, which is important for some games because some of the games are so big it wouldn't fit on one disc. As you guys recall, here's a menu layout. You can scroll left or right to select your game. Hit X to enter. Triangle is controller button guide. Go down to settings. The settings, there's health or screensavers language. But no scan lines, no filters, nothing to that sort. There's a guide here, product website, console button guide, all that good stuff. And each game has its own memory card, so you can save all your data on one memory card. which is nice. Let's go and check out Final Fantasy VII, which is classic. Probably one of the better Final Fantasies, in my opinion. I remember playing this game quite a bit. Even the intro kind of throws me back to the original Final Fantasy VII, playing it for the PlayStation 1. One thing it's interesting in this is that there's no load times. Sony decided to eliminate the load times, which is a good bad thing. I can see that as a positive thing because no one wants to really wait there and wait for it to load, especially since it's emulation. You don't necessarily need it to load anymore. However, it just feels different. As a gamer growing up playing these games, it's a little different playing these games without any load time. I kind of expect the load time with a lot of these games. But, loads fairly quickly. I think audio-wise it sounds fine. Let's see how it looks. This is a pretty long intro for Final Fantasy VII. Here we go. Game looks okay. I mean, I remember being blown away at these graphics. Watching, when the game first came out. It runs fairly smooth. I don't notice any frame rate issues, although these games are all in PAL, 50 frames per second, opposed to NTSC. So that's an issue in itself. So a lot of the games you will notice. If you're a hardcore gamer, you'll notice some frame rate issues. But for this particular game, nothing noticeable to my naked eye. I mean, maybe you guys notice some frame rate issues, but you can hit reset to go back to the menu if you want to go back to the menu. So I'll go do that. You can do resume point. So it will save that initial point. Now, if I would decide to go back and play it again, I've either got to create a new game or save it where you can save it onto a memory card. Mr. Driller is a great game. Rayman's a great game. A lot of these are decent games for sure. R4 Ridge Racer Type 4. This is another really great racer, and I wanted to show you some gameplay on this. Skip ahead here and just show you the select. I would love to see Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo would have been awesome. 1 or 2 would have been fantastic to be on this collection. It's probably my favorite racing game on the platform, on PlayStation 1. Maybe due to licenses or maybe some trademark issues, maybe they weren't able to get that. I understand that legally it might be a little more difficult. Game using the D-pad isn't ideal. I just want to use the analog stick. It just seems natural to me, but the D-pad definitely isn't ideal, but it will work nonetheless. It runs fairly smooth. Let's go back, show you another game here. The memory card, you can only, I don't have any save memory on there at this current time, but check out one of my favorite games on the selection. It's Siphon Filter. I remember when this game came out, played a ton of it as a kid. Really funny. It's interesting going playing it back again. I haven't played it for years, but has not aged very well graphically. Just like the original Resident Evil games haven't aged very well graphically, but nonetheless, a really great story, and I do recommend checking out this game if you have a PlayStation 1. Definitely pick it up. It must own for the system. By 989 Studios. Again, odd, no load times, kind of strange, but I guess I see it more as a positive thing than anything else.
I've got an ID match for Romer on level 1. Yodu is on level 2. No location yet for Kravich, and I don't see any sign of air mob.
Copy. I'm on my way.
It's classic. Here's another game I want to show you. It's a classic by Ubisoft, and it's Rayman. It's been ported to a bunch of different platforms, including the Jaguar, but really fun platformer, a big hit for Ubisoft. And I'm happy to see this one on this particular selection of games. Although I thought, Crash Bandicoot would have been better. To be honest with you, I think Crash Bandicoot is such an iconic. When you think PlayStation 1 games, it's such an iconic game for the system, and it was sad to see that Crash Bandicoot is not included on this game. I felt because Rayman is 2D platformer, that graphically it looks really well. It's aged fairly well opposed to the 3D games, style games of PlayStation 1 where they're kind of pixelated. This isn't the case. It almost looks like it's hand drawn. It looks actually plays pretty good, handles very well, and has aged over time fairly well. He's such a unique character. I'm not quite sure what he's supposed to be exactly. Nice use of parallax scrolling, though. Kind of a short intro level when you first start the game. Let's go escape. I'll take you to one more game I'll show you. Let's do Resident Evil Director's Cut by Capcom. The game that started it all for the franchise. Huge success for Capcom. Seeing where the dogs used to always freak me out in this game. Playing as a kid. Choose your character. We'll quickly here get into some gameplay. I'll show you. The gameplay, the controls haven't aged very well. I always walk like I'm drunk because it kind of switches on you screen by screen as far as, where up goes and down goes, whatever. And the voice acting is atrocious in this game. So despite all that, the story saved it for sure. Just the uniqueness of it all definitely made this game more unique. Now I'm going to share with you my final thoughts on the PlayStation Classic. So, in conclusion, what I think about the PlayStation Classic, I'll start with the positives. I do like the box. I like the packaging. I like the way it looks. It's really cool. The controller's decent. I wish it was a DualShock controller. It is not. I think they did that for cost savings. So that is a positive thing about that. Now, things I don't really care for it. Now, first off, they limit it to only 20 games. That is an issue in itself because when you only limit it to 20 games, and there's thousands of games for the PS1. I'm not even quite sure, but there's over 1,000 games for the PlayStation 1 library. There's a ton of classic ones, and you're going to leave some out. You're going to upset some gamers. Some of the famous franchises left out: Tomb Raider, Gran Turismo. There's Parappa the Rapper. There's so many good ones that they could have included in this that they didn't, unfortunately. Tony Hawk. Why is Tony Hawk not in this thing? It's unbelievable. And yet they include games like Jumping Flash. Really, Sony? So that is an issue in itself. What's also interesting is this thing is easy to hack. It just came out recently that you can just, all you need is a USB keyboard, which unfortunately I don't have one, otherwise I would show you. But I will do once I get one, I'll get one soon, and once I do, I'll show you how it works. But very simple, you plug the USB keyboard in, while you're in a game, you hit escape, and it brings you to the debug menu, the debug menu, which is interesting. So they basically left that out, and that will allow you to switch between NTSC, and that's an issue in itself because a lot of these games are PAL, and the frame rates are different. So that's 50 frames per second instead of 60 frames per second. So you can change that if you have a keyboard, but the fact that you have to do that is ridiculous. The games don't look great. I'll be honest, being HDMI, I'm assuming it's outputting in 720p, they don't look great on my TV. They look blurry. I think a lot of these games graphically haven't aged well. Games like Resident Evil, Siphon Filter have not aged well. Rayman, there's some games like Rayman that have, but a lot of these games that are three-dimensional polygon haven't aged well, and that's not really the fault of Sony. It's just age. That's just how they are. But they don't look good through HDMI, surprisingly enough. There's no scanline options. You can do that. You can add scanlines using the keyboard, using the hack, and debugging it. But the fact that you have to do it again it's ridiculous to me. You can do save states, which is interesting as well. Each game does come with a memory card built in, so you can save those. And while you're playing the game, if you exit to the menu, it will save that progress of that current game. But eventually you have to save it to a memory card if you want to start another game, if that makes sense. So yeah, the games don't look great. And as much as I wanted to really love this system, for $100, I can't recommend it. I'll be honest, I cannot recommend this system. I think if you're a diehard PlayStation person, maybe check it out. But if you're looking to play PlayStation 1 games and you don't have an original PlayStation, I would recommend getting, honestly, spend your money getting an Odroid, invest in an Odroid. This thing is like a Raspberry Pi on steroids. That's essentially what this is a Raspberry Pi emulating these games anyway. This thing can play PlayStation 1 games, a whole library flawlessly. I can speak from personal experience. I've played games on the Odroid. It plays amazing. Opposed to this, it doesn't look great. The games look dark. They look pixelated. They sound okay. And for some reason or another, Sony decided to take away the load times, which I guess is pros and cons. It's nice that, the thing about the PlayStation 1, there were some significant load times, right? It's weird to play games without any load times. So that's an issue in itself. Now, the open button on the system itself, that will actually, one thing I do want to mention, that will change discs. So when you're playing games like Final Fantasy VII, there's 4 discs, you hit that will exchange discs automatically for you. Reset will take you back to the menu, and you have your power button. So you have to use the controller itself for the menu. I do wish it would have been cool if they added like SD card slots so you can save the games and can go and play them with other people. That'd been cool, kind of like the original memory cards. They did not do that. There is no online capability, so I can't play games online, unfortunately. And there's no patching. So Sony goofed. I think that what happened, honest opinion, I think Sony probably rushes to the holiday market, saw how successful Nintendo was doing with their Nintendo Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic Minis, and decided to do this, and they kind of rushed the market, and they skipped a lot of things. This fact, again, you can't add scan lines, which is disappointing. There's no filters. They did leave the debug menu in there. Was that intentional? I don't know. But the fact that you can't do that. And I'm not a huge fan, honestly, of the menu itself on the screen and how you select games. I think Nintendo got it spot on. Very easy to understand. Here, it looks really cheesy. I'll be honest, it doesn't look great. So do I recommend the PlayStation Classic? Sadly, I do not. Cool collector item, I guess, if you're a PlayStation fan. The PlayStation, for me, it hurts to say that because I love the PlayStation 1. This is my original one growing up as a kid. And my neighbor and I, my good friends and I, we bought it together and we shared it. And it's just such an iconic system. The controller is iconic. Even, PlayStation 4, they're still using pretty much the same controller, the DualShock anyway. It's such a great system. I really wanted to love this. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Let me know what you guys think about it. Did you guys end up picking one? Leave a comment below. What games would you like to see on it that aren't included? To me, I would have paid extra for the ability to play online and the ability to actually download games through the PlayStation Network that would have played on this thing. If they could have made it expandable, I think that would have helped. Unfortunately, it is not. Would you like to see an Xbox One, or I guess I should say original Xbox Mini or Classic? And if so, what games should they include? I'm assuming it would be the Halo series. I mean, there's got to be some other great games. I'm sure there's a ton of great games on the original Xbox that should be included. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on that are. Anyway, overall, I give this, if I were to give it like A, B, C, D rating, I'd probably give this like a C-. The only thing keeping it in the C range, honestly, is the look of it and just the nostalgic feel to it, the retro style feel to it. Otherwise, I'd give this thing like a D or maybe an F. Anyway, thank you for subscribing, guys. I appreciate you guys leaving a comment. That means a lot. The fact you guys subscribe, that's awesome. We'll see you guys soon. Take care, and of course, game on.